We're on.
Well, I'm Annette Johnson, a member of the Residents Council, and I have two guests here that I'm really excited to be with from the Interfaith Committee. And at the end of the table, we have Billy Stevens, who is the current chair.
Current secretary.
Okay, secretary. Anyway, my contact person. And then the previous contact person, whom I've seen in action quite a bit in my 2 years here, is Pat Hauk. Now, would you introduce yourselves? Do you want to say anything about yourselves that I haven't?
All right. I will start out, and I'm not going to tell a lot about myself. I've been here on 1340 several times during the pandemic, and that was as part of the Interfaith Committee when we were doing programs on 1340 each. Well, every day I think we had someone. I am Billy Stevens. I live with my husband, Bill, in the north wing on the 4th floor here at Woodland Pond. I joined the Interfaith Committee in November of 2019. I attended one meeting, and I think we did have a December meeting that year, but by the time the January meeting came around, I believe I had left for Florida for 2 months. And of course, that was a year ago, and we all know what happened a year ago. Everything came to a stop. We currently have 20 members on the Interfaith Committee. We have 2 pastors, 1 pastor, no, 2. Yes, we have 2 pastors on the committee. We have lost 4 of our committee members during this past year, not to the pandemic, just the regular end of life. And we have had a few resignations from the committee, but we also have 5 potential new members. They haven't been able to attend a meeting yet. Hopefully, we will meet this coming Monday so that they can hear more about the committee at the meeting. And most of them have committed to being part of the committee. Let me see. We have had Tree of Life programs since I joined. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't present because I was in Florida. There was a Taizé, is that it? Taizé program on February 19th, a little over a year ago, that Margaret Howe and Dr. Pritchard of the Methodist Church presented to us. And that was here in the PAC for people to see and to come in attendance. And we also had a rural and migrant ministry program on March 2nd that Reverend Richard Witt presented to the community. The Interfaith Committee meeting on there was an Interfaith Committee meeting on January 31st and another one on February. And then there were no more until October. And after the October meeting, there was one scheduled for November on the 23rd. And the morning of the meeting, everything was shut down again. Things had been better in the summertime, but come November, close to Thanksgiving, Michelle had to call a halt again. In February, there was a prayer group with Sister Eileen of spiritual directions. And that was in the interfaith meditation room in the healthcare wing of the building. On Ash Wednesday, there was a service with Dr. John Coley of St. Joseph's, Father John Coley of St. Joseph's Catholic Church, and that was held in the Great Room. And there was a 5-week guided reading group with Rich Picone in the Great Room, but that was canceled after the first week because of closure of everything. Lenten studies with pastors of the Reformed Church. Were they, Pat, were they virtual a year ago?
No, yes and no.
Okay.
They started out, the first one was in person, and from then on,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Purim and Passover services with interfaith committee members and some help from Maddie Lee. And they were conducted as usual, well, over virtually over 1340, as so much was done over our good channel 1340 that has kept us connected with life. There was a Good Friday service held with Reverend Roger Leonard and Reverend Bill Schnitzer conducting that again on 1340. June 29th began a week long of "Hello, neighbor, we miss seeing you." And this was the interfaith committee members making over 60 calls to people that are shut in. Many people are, of course, are living alone here in our community. And there were monthly columns in the newsletter about what was going on with the Interfaith Committee, although there was very little going on. There always seemed to be just a little bit of information that we could share with the residents. In April, there was a survey, and the answers were in the May issue. The daily moments of inspiration on 1340 were done by several interfaith committee members and friends during the closure. Some of those that participated were Vivian Yetru, Roger Leonard, Halima Hussan, Dawn Sangri, Jean Crawford, and Pat Hoke and I. These were discontinued when things opened up partially in the summertime. Some interfaith committee members did some readings again after closure resumed in the fall, as I mentioned, and in November. The annual tree lighting ceremony was held again on 1340, but we had a tree in the lobby and two trees here in the PAC. So we had the tree lighting, but it was different, like everything was different last year. We also had a very moving time of solace program on December 21st. There was staff that participated. There was a quartet from the Pondeliers and Cynthia Fisher with her cello, along with Jean Aldwell on piano, and other interfaith.
How many people were remembered at that ceremony?
Oh goodness, there were a good number of them. I can't tell you because we, on the one tree, which was the time of solace tree, we put names but there were that were submitted by residents.
Right.
But there were often more than one name for the same person. So
I had heard 139 people. I know it
Oh,
was
is
over
that right?
100 because I
Okay.
counted. I
Well,
counted,
good.
I watched.
yes, but as I say, some of those were duplicates.
No, I'm not talking about the cards. I'm talking about, there were 139 people, which somebody
Oh,
fairly
we were-
reliable told
okay.
me.
Okay,
Um,
good. Very
and-
good.
But I counted when I watched your program. You know, you could see the
Mhm.
candles on the tables, and
Oh,
I
yes.
figured it was at least 100.
Mhm. Yes.
Okay, I wanted to ask Pat something too.
Good.
You can finish if you had something more you
No,
wanted.
Just that we have remained active, even though we have not been having meetings.
Mm.
The Interfaith Committee has still been active because there were things that we could do and we were more than willing to do them.
Right. Pat, I wanted to ask you two questions. One, when are the meeting dates? And the other, what is the mission? You know, the technical mission, which I read in your paper.
Okay. How did I know you were going to ask about that? I even have it printed in large print, and we will give a copy to everyone who attends the next
Well, what
Monday
comes
meeting.
first, the mission and then the date?
mission, yeah. Maybe I should tell a little bit about the Interfaith Committee's history, because the mission that I'm going to tell you was created almost 10 years ago
Wow.
when the Interfaith Committee first got together. It was a small group of residents. Of course, the population was many fewer than there are now, but individuals from different faiths felt as though we needed to have something to offer residents that might be spiritual gathering. And because the residents came from different locations, different religious, spiritual backgrounds, it was agreed that we ought to have an interfaith committee. So it wasn't really a committee that was part of resident council. It was an independent committee and still is such, even though we work closely with the resident council. But the interfaith mission was revised in 2018, and I'll read it to you because I feel as though it really says why we're doing this. The mission of the Interfaith Committee is to foster an atmosphere of tolerance for spiritual understandings, to nurture understanding and respect of all religions, to provide opportunities for residents to worship at various religious services here and in the community. And that's really what we have been doing. Just hearing what Billy was talking that we've accomplished in the past year. And since she jumped in with both feet when she attended the first meeting, there's a lot that has gone on.
Okay, well, before you go into the
Yes.
history, what are the meeting dates? Are they
The
Monday?
meeting days are the fourth Monday,
Mhm.
generally at 11 o'clock, the fourth Monday of every month. And in addition to having meeting days, we would have activities that we would try to put together for all the residents where they could participate. And in the Tree of Life, this photo that's behind me that is a photograph of an actual tree down here on the Wallkill River, just over the bridge. And it really spoke to me as what our Interfaith Committee is all about. All same grounded, but with different faiths and different spiritual backgrounds.
I'd like
and-
to
and
interject.
plans.
I'd like to interject something here.
Yeah.
I've only been around here for 2.5 years or something. And this committee, it just seemed to me so much a part of Woodland Pond. It gave me a chance to learn more about other religions and feel welcome going to the different services and so forth.
Mhm.
And, it was just part of the open, friendly, embracing community. And I thought it was,
Well, we're
Wonderful.
happy that you came in. I think that's another one of the wonderful things about the Interfaith Committee is by having programs that we share, people suggest things that we might do in the future. And that's how the committee has evolved. I was looking through my notes, some of what Billy was sharing. The very last meeting we had last year, the minutes were taken by a person who was on the original committee that was 10 years old. It was Mary Louise Van Winkle. One of the last things that she did was take those minutes before she passed away
Oh,
the
wow.
following month. And Bill Snitzer also was a member of the original committee. Bill passed away just this year. So it shows you that the people who have the faith are still connected in as many ways as they can be. But if it weren't for management, the things wouldn't run as smoothly. If it weren't for Gretchen reminding us, oh, Purim's on the calendar and we better get the committee to see who's going to help run this, or, you know, it's Passover and Good Friday and we can count on certain people all the time, but we try to involve additional people. That Christmas tree lighting service, I've been here 6 years now, and I joined the committee, I think it was the second year that I lived here. But the tree lighting was something that had already been planned, and the Hanukkah service was already something that had been planned. That came through, thankfully, Gretchen and reminder. But the whole community comes together. Didn't matter what your background was, you wanted to be part of that tree lighting and the singing of the carols and the decorating and the putting up of the tree. And the Hanukkah services were different. People from the Jewish faith would talk about the things each night, but we all who never experienced that had a new learning experience. And it was a wonderful opportunity to get together and share these things. The moments of inspiration that we did this year, hopefully many of you have to turn on the TV to get those 15 minutes of inspiration. I meant to add to the list that Billy gave Joyce Gartrell. She hadn't been a member of the committee, but she has a solid spiritual religious background, and also having library experience, chose some wonderful stories to share during those moments of inspiration. You don't have to be a member of the committee to do things, to feel inspired and motivated. But I stepped down as chair. I feel as though there's always an opportunity for growth. I brought my ideas and people welcomed them. And there are always new ideas that need to be shared. So we're hoping that some of our new residents will consider being active and giving us additional ideas for programs and things to accomplish. Something that occurred, and inspiration and community. I love the story. One time Roger Leonard was talking about Woodland Pond is a community unto itself, a diverse community, the individuals coming with various religious backgrounds, and it's sort of a family. And we come together for all of these different religious ceremonies and services, even cooperating with the food or health services and food services when it comes to different holidays. But one thing that had occurred, a sad thing that occurred, there was a mass killing that took place at a synagogue in Pittsburgh a couple of years back. And at the very same time, there was a bombing of a Black Christian Baptist church in Kentucky. And the Interfaith Committee, within 4 days, put together a service right here that was just a special time of remembrance. And people from the committee stepped up and, oh, we could do this and we could do that. And Gretchen had music that she could share. And once again, this room was packed because even though we may have our own spiritual background, when it comes time, we join one another. And our diverse community, as Roger says, we are one family. We are a community unto itself. And I think the key word here is gratitude. We see ourselves as being very fortunate, unlike much of the population right here in New Paltz. So that if we have opportunities to share all these good times and share our gratitude, thanks for management, as we've just done with resident council and that wonderful board of signatures. Gratitude's a very spiritual thing. And the one word that we see that is in all of the face is the word of love. So that we just want to say we love one another. And we hope everybody takes part once we're able to get this committee rolling again.
Thank you very much. I have a question
Sure.
to ask you. Reading over your materials, I understand that there was some discussion and perhaps plans to hire a professional to help the Woodland Pond residents who are experiencing loss.
Yeah, grief and loss is
Well,
something.
first of all
yeah,
kinds of losses.
Yeah, grief and loss is something that, of course, we're going to experience here. Look how old we are. And it's not just with age, but grief and loss. When we were talking, individual came to us and said, is there something Interfaith Committee can do to help when we're grieving? We have loss. Where do we go? How do we help? And much of it is directed to your own personal belief and your own faith and how you might handle these things. But then there's a feeling that we did have hospice coming here, but it was open to the community. And the people who were attending that bereavement group coming in from the community had very different needs than those of us who are privileged people.
Yeah,
Because we
are.
really are. And the needs they had, they're in charge 24/7, maybe individuals with a spouse or a family member. But we have grief and loss that we're experiencing, whether it is the loss of a spouse, of a child, of a family member. And it was brought to our attention, I'm grieving because I just lost my dog.
Oh, yeah.
And I've lived with my dog for 12 years. And that's another kind of loss. So we took these to heart and we had discussion and did a great deal of research to prove that from Mayo Clinic research, from psychologists at the University of Texas, from Harvard University, all are saying grief and loss is experienced in a variety of ways. But one of the best things is to be able to come together and talk and remember. Well, when we've had losses here, Sarah has done a wonderful job of allowing families to congregate in this room and have memorial services. That hasn't happened in the past year and a half. And there was more of a need than the community open hospice group that was here. We need to talk here. So the Interfaith Committee said, yes, let's take it to the resident council. Resident council backed us up totally, said, yes, go ahead, bring it up with management. So Sarah and I had a long meeting with Michelle, and the decision was made in July of 19 that yes, whatever Sarah decided would be what we were going to do. And the decision is we would bring in a professional, not ask somebody who lives here with a psychology background or a social work background, but a professional from outside to come help with grief counseling, with support counseling. And the decision was made, yes, it would happen in the new year. Well, you know what happened in the new year. Sarah has been looking for us. It hasn't been just pushed under the rug. But because of what's been going on in reality in 2020, the people she's already contacted to come to us and help us as a group, maybe even to do talks for us on 1340, those people are overworked. Their calendars are filled. And she hasn't given up. She still has a couple of irons in fire, so to speak. But yeah, it's something that, so if you feel that this is something that still is important to you as an individual or important to us as our own community, don't hesitate to let it be known that your interests are still there. Every time I speak with someone who's had a recent loss, even if it's just, not just, but their next door neighbor or the person across the hall who's passed away, they're saying, when are we going to really get to just talk about it? Well, we haven't been together to do that kind of talking, but it hasn't been forgotten. So again, we have to have gratitude for, of all people, Sarah, to be looking out for someone to help us with this whole grieving situation. And another thing that has always been helpful in the past is we have this meditation room that was created by people of the committee saying, we need a place to get away. Yeah, we can all sit by ourselves in our room, but we aren't getting up and going to a church whenever we want or to a temple whenever we want. This was before 2020. The meditation room, interfaith meditation room, many of you may never have even been in it, but it has been really updated in the past before 2020. It's the elevator to the health wing, just outside the, beyond the library is an elevator. It takes you to the second floor, you open the door, elevator, and there's the interfaith meditation room. It's right there. We've decorated it, has some beautiful paintings, photographs, and it's a place of solitude. But Sarah's checked again. Still not available to us. Once the health center opens up fully, then we will be able to once again say, make use of that interfaith meditation room. Something else to look forward to.
I think one of the, for me personally, best things about Woodland Pond is being able to age with other people, because, you know, it's difficult. And you're losing something every day as you go along. And I just find it very supportive to, you know, we can laugh and joke about it or cry, as the case may be. But you know what I mean? It's very nice. And certainly the activities of the Interfaith Committee are part of that.
We were very proud of the fact that we held 2 food drives in the spring and in the fall, in conjunction with the food pantry at SUNY New Paltz. And we were about to run another one this year, or back in 2020, I should say, but the university closed down before we ever had a spring food drive. It's wonderful to see that members of the community our community have just pulled together for this food drive, or the supply drive for family of New Paltz. We are part of a caring community, and it's wonderful, and we're hoping that sometime soon that we'll be able to do a SUNY New Paltz food drive again. And it's, I toured the place with a member of the committee last spring before we were going to do the food drive, and didn't quite make it, but the need on the college campus is far greater than any of us ever could have imagined.
Oh, really?
Food insecurity among students and among staff workers who are part-time, working below minimum wage, some cases,
Mm.
part of the SUNY system. We're going in and making use of some of the things that are collected and distributed there at the SUNY Food Pantry. So hopefully that's another thing that we'll see returning when things open up again.
Is there any concluding comments that either one of you would like to make?
Well, the only comment I would make is that we're always welcome to new members. We do have 3 of our members, 3 of the 20 who are in healthcare. And of course, they haven't been able to take part in any way this past year. Some of them used to come to meetings, but not everybody is able to attend every meeting. And we're very happy to have new residents or residents that have been here for a while who might find that they want their input put into what the Interfaith Committee is planning. So yes, just get in touch with any member of the committee. And Pat is still on the committee. We're hoping to elect a new chairperson to this committee this coming Monday when we have our meeting. But we're welcome to newcomers.
And new ideas.
Yes.
New ideas are always welcome. I also want to say a thank you to all those who started the Interfaith Committee and those in the past. Some of you still are living here who have served as chairperson of this Interfaith Committee. Your efforts have kept this moving. And thanks to Gretchen. She always is making everything just work for us. Thanks, Annette.
Thank you. It's been very interesting.